So hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. So this is the tutorial 4 of the MySQL playlist where we will focus on the multiple row functions, or you can say aggregate functions. So in the tutorial 3 we focused on the single row functions, and in this video we will mainly focus on the multiple row functions. So first I will show you what are the multiple row functions and their uses. So multiple row functions and multiple row functions are also known as aggregate functions. So in the previous part we discussed about the single row functions. They were the functions which work on the single value to return a single value. But multiple row functions are the functions which will work on a multiple values and then they will return a single value. So there is a slight difference between both the functions. So there are many multiple functions, like I will show you what are the functions. So first you can implement max, second you can say min, and all these functions we will implement in the MySQL command line client. Again, you can say average, fourth you can say count, and fifth you can say sum. So these are some famous MySQL multiple row functions, and in this video we will mainly focus on these 5 functions only, and we will implement each of the function in the MySQL client. So I will also tell you what is the use of each function. So max function generally returns the maximum value under the specified column or expression. Like if we want the maximum value from our column, we will use max function. If we use min function, so min function will return the minimum value under the specified column or expression. So if we want to return the minimum value of the column or row, we will use the min function. Average function will simply return the average of all the values under the specified column or expression. So if we want average or mean of the values of our column, so we will use the average function. Then fourth is the count function. It will return the count of number of values under the specified column, or you can say column or row. So it will just return the sum of all the values, sorry, count of the values. And the fifth function is the sum function. It will simply return the sum of values under the specified column or expression. So these are some functions in MySQL multiple row functions. So now we can see the implementation of each of the function in the MySQL command line client. So I have already created the database and table. It would, like, we can say our time. So you can see I have created a database R, and now you are very familiar with the, like, a database creation, table creation we did in the upcoming, like we did in the part 1, part 2, part 3. So I will not show the creation part in part 4. So I have written already create database, then we need to use it, and then we will create a table. The table name is AGG, and the columns are code. The data type is char, 4 size, then name, data type is varchar, then type, data type is varchar, then I have taken size as a column, integer data type, then cost will be in decimal points, so data type of cost is decimal. Then margin would also be in the decimal points, so the data type of margin is also decimal. And then the last column I have used is quantity, so quantity I have taken as int. So these are the table and the columns. So now we can insert the values. I already inserted one value. You can see insert into the table name values, and these are the data which I need to insert. So we can similarly insert more values, like the code. You can see the code is of the limit 4, so we can only provide the 4 letters, and you can give any data you can. And if you want, like, the type is, you can give any, like office, school, you can give any, like 7, and you can say like any point, like 82.50, it is 200. And you can change the, and guys, one thing that I am just giving a random data. If you are also creating a table aside me, so you can also give any random data. It is not compulsion to write what I am writing. So if we insert, so you can see query, okay, the value is inserted. So we can insert some more records so that are bit. so that our table would look a bit nice. Any name you can give, and again you can give any type, like now I can give like sports, then again some random values I am giving, and we have given the cost in decimal points. So you need to keep one thing in mind, that you should always put, like if I write 720, it will throw an error because our data type is not integer. Our data type is decimal. So we need to put a dot and then 00 because the cost is in decimal, and same for the margin also. Margin also you can see we have taken it, like you can see here. We have again taken margin also in decimal. So you again need to provide, here you can see, you again need to provide a decimal, and the quantity is integer type, so you can just write any quantity, any integer, no need to put decimal points. So this is also inserted. Again one more record, if I say any name, like any name I am giving, random names, and any category you can give, like sports to him also, and you can give any name like 9, and again you need to put the decimal points, any value like 745, and then the decimal points, so that it would not throw an error. 4 and any value, insert. So now we will insert one more column, and then we can visualize our table. So the one last column we can take any name, school, it remains 7. And now if I run this query also, so now we can see how our table is looking like. Select star from AGG, and if we see, so this is the column, this is the whole table, like code, name, type, size, cost, margin, quantity, and these are the values we inserted. These are the codes, name, type, size, quantity, and margin. So this is what our table like looking. And now we can start with the aggregate functions. So the first function is the max, and max will return the maximum value from our row, or you can say column. So we generally use max only when we need to return the maximum value from any table or column. So like if I say that I need the maximum cost, you can see here is the cost column, maximum cost from my table AWGG. So I can just write select maximum, and I want cost as maximum. So from, if I write this query, see what, so you can see the maximum cost here is 745 in the table, you can see, and that's what it is returning. And if I say now I want some query also, like I want to put a condition that I want the maximum cost where type is school, or you can say we have two columns, sports. So if I run this query, like select maximum of cost, again we will say from AWGG, and now I will put a condition where type is equal to school, S is in capital. So before running this, we can see the output, like type is a school of two types, school and school. So Arun also have type school, and Hari also have type school, but the cost is, like the cost is same for both. So I think it would create a problem. So if I say that type is of like sports, so sports both, like yeah. So Virat and Anvil both are having sports, and if we run this query, so you can see 745 L will cost is more because it has a maximum cost. So we can also use aggregate functions with the type conditions. And so these are some examples of the like max function. If I say like random example, like if I want my maximum margin, maximum size, if I say comma some random columns like name, comma you can say any column like margin, or you can say code. And I want a condition that I want the maximum of size name margin code where my name is rn. So how can I do that? So just need to put a condition where name equal to rn, and if we run this there's some error, size is not defined. Okay, I got it. So if we run this, select max of size name comma margin comma code where name is field list. So if I run this and if we say that I want cost of maximum from my table, so if we run this, it is giving error. Like if we write select max of cost from what is my table name agg where name equal to rn, and if we run this, yeah, you can see, so the maximum cost is 132 where name is rn. So if I say that, you can write this query in another way also using pattern matching. We did the pattern matching codes in the part 2, so I will again show you how can you write it. Like you can also write where name, you can use like operator. We did the like operator in the part 2. If you haven't watched it, you should watch and then you should watch the part 4. So if I say select max of size, and if I say that I again want max of cost only, so max of cost from my table name is agg where I will say name, again we will use like operator, and if I say where name, like I say a percentile, and if we run this, so yeah, again the same output is coming. So this query is just doing that we want the maximum cost from the table where name is starting with a. So in our table we can see that only rn name is starting with a, so it will return the cost of rn's only. So we can write the query of max in two ways. So now we can move to the second aggregate function, which is min. So min will just return the lowest value of our column or expression based on a column. So min will take only one argument, which can be any column name or a valid expression involving a column name. So if we say example like we were finding the maximum cost, now I want my minimum cost. So how can we find that? So just select min of cost, and then again from the table name is agg. So min cost, you can again see the table. So the cost is 132, 80, 70, 720, 745. So the minimum cost is 82, and this is what the minimum cost is returning. And if you say that I want minimum cost from the table, but the condition is that the type should be of school, or you can say sports. So how can we put that? Again we will again write select min of cost from the table name is agg where type, I want the type of sports. So if we run this, let's see the output. So yeah, you can see sports type is of like 1003, 1004 both have type sports, but we want the minimum. So 720 is displayed. And when we run for maximum, 745 was displayed. So this is the difference between min and max. And now we can move to the third part, third aggregate function, which is average. So average function is just used to find the average value of any column or an expression which is based on a column. So average would also take one argument only, like max and min, and it can be any column name, or you can say it can be a valid expression involving a column name. But here in average we have one limitation also. So this is an important point, that the function can be of numeric int decimal, but only like the function we should give, it can be of only int and decimal type, but it was not like in the maximum and minimum we can give any function like a varchar char, but in average we can just give function which are of int and decimal types. We can't give any other columns. So now we can again see the implementation, like select average and margin. So in the previous columns we were giving cost, but we know that margin is a decimal point, so we can only give decimal points or decimal columns in average function. So if we want average of all our margins from the column name from the table AGG, if we run this and if we show 2.60, so what this is doing, I will again show you the table. Our table is AGG. So what this is doing, this is just margining all the values. So if we say 2, 4, 7, so it will sum all the values and will divide by them 5. So there are 5 columns and this is what average is returning. So if we say 2 plus 2, 4, 7, 11, 13 and 13 by 5 is nothing but 2.6. So this is what average will return. It will return all the average values summed up in the column or the table we provided. And if you say that you want average of cost column, so again you can write select average of cost and the table name is again from AGG. And if we run this, so 362, so it will again add all the values of the cost column and again divide it by 5 and just return simply the average. And if I want average, this is our table, I want average of quantity where my type is sports. So how can I do that? So you again just need to write select average and the column name is from, the table name is AGG, and I have put a condition that my type should be only sports. So how can we do that? Where type is sports, and if we run this, yeah. So what this is doing, it is taking the average of quantity from table where the type is only sports. So sports is of 2, 103, 104. So it will add these two values 720 and 745 and it will divide by 2, and that would be the average of this condition. So average will just average all the values of our column or row and then it will return it. So till now we have done the three functions. They are min, max, min, average. So now we can move to sum. So sum function is just used to find the total value of any column or an expression which is like based on a column. So sum will also take only one argument, which can be any column or you can say any valid expression, and that will involve the column name also. And one condition more, that like we did in average, the argument of some function can also be of numeric and in decimal type only. It can't be of varchar, char, it should be strictly of int or decimal type only. And the sums of string and date types are not defined. So like if I want my quantity sum from the table, so if I write like select sum of quantity from my table name is AGG, if we run this, so you can see it will just sum up all the values like 2900, and these all the sum of the values is 5470. So it will just sum all the values of the quantity and it will display that. And if I say that like actually I want my cost, like if easy words I say I want to find a value, total value, which will product the quantity and my cost of my type shoes which are present in the office part. So how can I do that? So basically we can again write like select sum and my column name is cost into quantity, because I want the total value. So we need to multiply these columns both. We need to multiply cost and quantity. If we multiply the cost and quantity, then only we can get the total value. And then again from AGG, and I want a condition also that where my type is like I say office. So if I run this, so yeah, you can say, So what this query did, it will just total return the total value of the cost and quantity column from our table where the type is office. So the type office is here of Rahul. So it will just multiply the cost and quantity, and then it will just return the sum of total value. So if we want the sum of total value, we can use the sum function. So we have discussed sum function also, and the last function which is left is the count function. So now we will see count function. So count function basically is used to count all the number of the values that are in a specified column or an expression. So count will also take one argument, which can be any column name, or you can say any expression based on a column, or you can say any asterisk. So when the argument is in a column name or the expression, the count will return all the number of non-null values that is in a column. So what I mean, that count function will return the null values also, and if there are no null values, it can return the non-null values also. So count function, if you say that there is also, like if we run select star from AGG, so we are very familiar with this command. It will just display the table name. So we can also give, like this is called abstract. We use this symbol as abstract. So we can also provide this symbol in the count function. If I say select count star, and if I run this query, let's see the output. Yeah. So what this is doing, when we write select star from AGG, it will display the whole table. But when we write select count star, so it will just give the columns, the rows. You can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it will just return the columns from our table. So if we want total columns, we can use count star from AGG, and we need to provide the abstract in the brackets. So if I say that, like first we will see select type from, the table name is AGG, and if I say, so there are school, office, sports, school. So there are total three types only. School and sports are duplicates. So they are repeating two times. So if I want to display only the types which are distinct, or you can say which are unique. So we know that we can do this by the keyword known as distinct. And I already told you in the part 2 the use of distinct. So you just need to write select, the keyword is distinct, and I will write type from, table name is shoes. Sorry, table name is AGG. So if I run this, so you can see the types are school, office, sports, and all these types are unique. So if we use distinct, we can just return the unique values from our column. But if I say that I want the count of these unique values, or you can say I want the count of the my type columns. So how can I do that? So again we can use select count, and if I say distinct type, and then again we will write from, our table name is AGG, and if I run this, so you can say this was returning the column names school, office, sports, which are unique, and this will return the count that how many columns in our table of type are unique. So these are the three, and it will return three. Okay, so we will implement more queries of count. Actually we learned about these five functions, and you can see min, max, average, count, and in all these five functions the count function is the most important. It is like it is asked in interviews, or you can say in the HR rounds, so and even in the primary and secondary schools. So this is a very important function. So we will execute many queries of count in this video. So if I say that I want count of my margin column, you can see the margin column, but condition is that I want count of margin columns only where value is greater than 2. You can say there are 2, 3, 4, there are three values. I want count of margin values where margin value is strictly greater than 2. So how can we implement that? We can see select, again we will write select, I want count of my margin values, margin from the table name is AGG, but we have a condition that the margin value should be strictly greater than 2. So I will write where margin greater than 2, and if I run this, yeah, you can see it will show there are two values greater than margin 2. So if we see in this, we can say that you can say like there are 2, 2 and 3 and 4. So 3 and 4 are the two values which are greater than 2. So that's why it has displayed count of margin as 2. Okay, so if I say that instead of greater than 2, if I want values of margin which are equal to 2, so it should return 3. Yeah, it has returned 3. You can see 1, 2 and 3 are values whose count of margin is 2. So it has returned us 2. So these are some functions of count. And if you say that like I want select count of star, this is abstract which will return all the values again from my table is AGG, and this time I want that my, you can see my cost is more than 132. If we say that where cost is greater than 132 point, it is a decimal value, so we need to provide the decimal points also. If I run this, if we run this, yeah, it is saying there are two values which are greater than 132.50. So if we see in our table select star from AGG, and if we say, so one value is 720 and the second is 745, so these two values are greater than 132.50, so that's why the count has displayed as 2. So count is just counting the values like which are the greater than, which are greater than or which are less than, so it will just count the values. And if I say like again a simple query that I want count of my margin column, I need to count how many values are in the margin column. And if I run this, so yeah, it is returning 5 because there are 5 values 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So these are some count values, count functions. So in this video, you can see I will show you the notepad. So in this video, we primarily discussed about different multiple row functions and aggregate functions. So these are max, min, average, count, sum, and we implemented each of our function in the MySQL command line client. You can say we have implemented many functions. You can see. So now we are familiar with both single row functions and multiple row functions. So in the upcoming videos, we will focus upon group by and having clause. So this is an important note that when we use single row functions, we will use where condition. I will write this also. When we use single row function, we use the where clause in the condition. But if we use multiple row function which we implemented today, there is a special type of clause which is known as having. We need to use having. We will use having and group by. So group by, and we will implement all the queries which we implemented today by using having and group by query also. So in the upcoming tutorial, we will focus on these two, having and group by query. So this is all for this video. If you like this video, please like and subscribe and share among your friends. And you should watch the first 3 tutorials as a prerequisite of this tutorial. And if you like, you know that if you like the video, what you are supposed to do. So bye bye, take care.